Send some money, send some money, make a donation, money, send the money, send the listeners support, money, send some money, make a donation, money. Hey, we're listening to support. Independent media, send some money, send some money, send some money, make a donation, listen to support it. Okay, we got in the news today, that's right. So, of course, do something about it. Get involved. Get off your butt and start doing something before we lose our freedoms. And the Pacific Trade Agreement through WikiLeaks and a number of other resources have revealed and revelations of war what that's about. But yet the Congress and the House and Senate have not yet to see it, just like Obamacare and just like the other bills, like the FCC agreement, they weren't able to see. But yet all this stuff has a lot of things in it to take away you and I's freedom. That's what I'm trying to get out. My mouth wouldn't work. And of course, it's going to take away our sovereignty. This is some very scary stuff. That's also part of the PPT G, known as the Pacific Trade Agreement. And that's basically what that's about. It's all by the globalist banks and by all the corporations, where they take all the power. That's also entailed in the document. And they use that to lobby and tell the presidents of the world. We see that happen in other countries, and it's also going to happen here. As a matter of fact, the banks actually picked the presidents in other countries. They bragged about it a few weeks ago. They just went out and just not bragged, but just said it. That's what they do, and that's what the model is, what they plan to do here, as well as what they're already doing in some countries already. And of course, this is something we should be concerned about as citizens. Our freedom. I know a lot of y'all had your heads in video games and playing football and watching all your TV shows and football games and all that, and that's great. But you got to come out of that, get your head out of the clouds, and you got to come out of that fake world and worry about all the sports stats and come to the real reality. Because when your nation is on teetering on a slope where we're getting ready to go into tyranny because people believe by giving up all your privacy is the right thing to do so that you can have security. Well, I tell you what, history always tells and always does prove that having security is better. Promoting and having liberty and freedom is better than having security, because when you have security and you trade all that in for security because of being told a bunch of lies to buy into all this stuff, you end up losing your freedom. And then you end up having a real worse time because you have martial law at its finest, and you won't have no freedom in the end because there won't be no freedom. And that's what's happening in a lot of countries where they once had more freedom. They don't have it either. That's what's going to be the model for us. Also, this war, there's also impending why Mrs. Clinton tends to paint herself as a victim and spew out lies saying that she doesn't have no money and they barely got by to collect money from a lot of you organizations and corporations, spending those lies as the lie machine, and as the dinosaur media won't report on the truth about anything because a lot of their ratings have gone down in the toilet because they don't report on real news, and lots of people are starting to wake up to that. Matter of fact, Clinton and a lot of other people are trying to regulate the internet to the point to where we can't have free speech on it. That's what President Clinton, the way she talks, she thinks she's already president now. But they're trying to make it, they're scared, and the government's scared, they're trying to regulate it, trying to take it away. She's trying to paint herself to look like she's a victim, when yet she's very rich. In a book that was released, and the New York Times got this book, that was released by an author that shows some really bad stuff about the Clintons in it, and it shows that their combined income for last year was over 130 million. $130 million. That's what Mr. Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Mrs. Clinton made combined income last year. And then she goes on TV saying she barely got by and that they're barely not making it and they were broke. Yeah, they're broke. They got money coming out of their ears with all this foundations and everything. So you got to really know what this liar is trying to say, anything they can, because the globalists are really trying to paint her way with red carpet style to make her president. So, I think the elections, like with Obama last term, are going to be rigged just like hers are going to be rigged. It don't matter who's going to win, because Ron Paul's still going to be losing, because that's what the globalists want. They want her in the House. And I really think that's what they're going to do. But with all this stuff coming out, I don't think that's going to be the case. So they're going to have to put somebody else in there. because it may not work, but then again it may, because she's collecting all this money from foreign lands as well as corporations overseas, and collected money from a lot of factories and a lot of big businesses and corporation tycoons and even individuals, because they all are supporting her, and all that money she's collected from all these nations, she's selling us out to all these different nations so they can make money, tons of money, and then all that money's be given to the dinosaur media, but yet it ain't going to really matter because they ain't really telling the truth about anything. They're just going to support her because they're just going with the status quo, what they do, because they've been bought out. And that's pretty much what all media that's dinosaur does. Like your local media has been bought out. Your radio stations have been bought out. The government owns them. Unlike us, we're not owned by the government. We're independent media, just like Alex Jones is independent media. Ron Paul is independent media. Larry Pratt and many other people are independent media. Just to name a few. I can't name them all, but there's a lot of us out here, including people like myself. But see, all this stuff, that's why they had talking about it this week, because the government is scared stiff, because they're afraid, because the truth is being told, and they're trying to quench the truth by regulating the internet and trying to turn it off, and to make it harder for us to get the news out, because they don't want the truth to get out, because nobody else is telling it, and they don't want people to have a debate over this stuff or discuss it. That's why they're trying to fast track the Pacific Trade Agreement, which covers a lot more than just trade and copyright, and it covers with the internet and a whole lot more, including your freedoms and sovereignty and liberties, also part of that deal, to make this country in martial law and to make this country tyrannical and tyranny within the next 2 to 3 years. So that's why we need to stand up and legislate and fight against this. Vote with our dollars, vote with our hands, and talk to legislators and representatives, and vote against this bill, because this is, they couldn't see it, but yet they had to vote for it, and that just doesn't make sense. Why would you vote for something you weren't able to read? I've always said that even with Obamacare, and I said that even with the FCC agreement. Why would you even dare to vote for something you can never see? That's just kind of stupid and dangerous. But that's what they were told to do, just to sign it into law without looking at it. Look at it after it's in the law, and that's just crazy. But that's what our government's been doing, because most of the people have been bought out on the Congress and Senate and House. They've been bought out by the globalists and the bankers. And that's why we need to get rid of those people all the more, and get some new people in there that aren't bought out and won't buy into their bribes or their money, You're just speaking about money. We talked about the Clintons, where they had over $130 million they made last year combined, in this new book that came out. I don't want to say anything more about it, but it's coming out. New York Times has a copy of it, and it's really going to be a bombshell to the Clinton administration and to her running, I think, because it has a lot of things in there that will expose her for who she really is. From what I understand, it's not good. And I think she's scared about that. I think she's going to try to do something to try to stop that book from being published. But I think somebody else still might publish it under a different name. I mean, us writers are just going to get a lot more creative even when we have things to say that are true, because all the sources in there are cited in the book, so they can't say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, since that's what's Clinton's, popular and most new word that she always uses when she can't explain anything, and when she don't want to tell the truth, she'll just turn it around and say it's some kind of convoluted theory that these tinfoil hat crazy people came up with, when it's not crazy, because it actually is true. She just doesn't want people to wake up or clue into the fact that she's a liar and she's a counterfeit, and everything she does is wrong. So, we don't need more Clintons in the House. That's what I meant by that. It's not because she's a woman. It's not because of her gender. It's not because of her being a lesbian. It has nothing to do with that. But I wouldn't want somebody in there being a lesbian, because that doesn't set a good example. And that people might say, well, that's the way people are today. A lot of people are gay. I found out that probably almost half the Congress in the House, half the Congress, people that are on Congress, both Democrat and Republican, half of them are gay. There's a lot of them, including Obama. That's stuff that there's a lot of sources say he's gay, and he's got a transsexual or transvestite as a wife. And half man. I mean, Michelle Obama looks like she could play for the 49ers or play for any football team. She looks like she's got a pair of man shoulders, like she's transgender or something. But she don't look like a woman, because normal women don't have those kinds of shoulders like a man. And they definitely don't have a little bump in their crotch area like this close-up showed. Look like she has a ding-a-ling down there. Or maybe that's a banana. I don't know. But a little bump down there. Men have that because that's what men have. And I think she may have it too. She might be one of those chickies with a crank. So whatever. That's what Obama likes. That's what they're into. So, and that's what he's into. So, because he's gay. He's admitted that. He said he was gay. He goes both ways. His bus goes on both sides of the street. Same sex, opposite sex, whatever sex. He goes right for it. So, but anyway, it's just, that's the trend of the house. It's the trend of the day, they say. But no, that's what made Rome, Persia, Aztec empires, including the U.S., that's going to fall because God does not like bestiality. God does not like homosexuality. It's an abomination in his sight. That's what it says in Proverbs. It's important that we stop this stuff, folks, because it's going to destroy this country just like it destroyed these other 3 or 4 empires I mentioned before ours. That's what destroyed them, was the very same things that's going on in our country now. So we got to get out of that TV stuff. You got to understand that to be in this country, freedom is, like Joe Biggs said on InfoWars, freedom is more than just a flag, the red, white, and blue. It's a lifestyle. I'm going to say it's a commitment. It's something you fight to the end, and if you have to die for it, you do. Just like many other people have died before you because they really believed in something. And that's the way you have to be as a patriot. And that just brings up something when I said patriot. They signed into law, then they have updated or amended the Patriot Act back in law, but it's not for a good reason. No. In the bill, it actually states in there to go after you and do whatever it means if they deem you somebody to be a threat or deem you to be somebody against the establishment, just like we feared. In this new bill that they put out last week as an amendment, they actually put it back into law, meaning they've added it back in. Because it was not in law, but now they've added it back in. It's not for the good reasons. It sounds like it, but no. It's actually to go after people, to put them in camps, or to do whatever's necessary to get them quiet. And the law hasn't gone in effect yet, but that's why you need to know about it, because the Patriot Act has been amended and put back into law. Just like a lot of laws have been put back into law that you don't even know, and I don't even know, because they're always putting lots of them into law, and then half the law people don't even know what all the laws are because they keep adding so many on there. Almost seems like every other week now. So, but that's just what I'm saying. You're going to have so many laws that even the people that make the laws themselves are going to get in trouble for breaking a law because somebody else made a law and they put it in there, and they're not going to know they broke the law because it's just so many written that you can't remember them all. And even the books, you can't just to find them in a book, collection of books and law books. They keep getting bigger and bigger. I mean, if you were to put them in there, probably over 1,000 or so volumes. Because the way they are right now, there's just so many of them, and it's just you can't even remember them all. There's just too many of them. And most of the laws there are redundant and ridiculous. And most of the laws are just hideous. They really shouldn't even be laws. Like walking down the street with beer in your cup. If you're walking down the street in the neighborhood and you got beer in your cup, it shouldn't be against the law. It should only be against the law if you give it to your son or daughter, it's underage. Or if you give it to somebody else's son or daughter. But if you're drinking and you're a responsible adult and you're in your yard, it should be against the law. If you're walking around in your yard, it should be against the law. However, if you're walking around the side of the road, you shouldn't have beer or any kind of thing in your cup that's like that anyway. You're near cars and stuff and you're a little buzzed, That's kind of common sense. They shouldn't have to make a law for that, But they have, so just a lot of things that are in law. It's just like people shouldn't be on their cell phones when they're driving, texting, or on their cell phones, period, when they're driving. There shouldn't have to be a law added for that. But because a lot of people are dumb and don't pay attention and don't care, they think they're above it and they can do what they want. And that's why a lot of teenagers die. Probably over a couple hundred die each year in this country because of texting. Or while they're on the phone. They're on the phone and texting at the same time while they're driving a car. And that's what kills people, folks. You can do it, but I'm telling you, it will kill you because it's not meant. You're not supposed to do that when you're driving. You shouldn't have to have a law to tell you that. You should already know that. When people do stuff, it's not because they're dumb. It just seems like they're dumb. It's just because they don't have sense. They're not thinking correctly. And they shouldn't have to have laws for a lot of things that you should already know what are appropriate and what are not appropriate. It's like there shouldn't be a law to know when to drink alcohol, because you should know it should be when you're an adult, like when you're 21 or older. There shouldn't be a law about when you're about being with children underage, because that should be something that should be understood without a law being in effect, because you should know when children are underage, you shouldn't be with them in that way. There shouldn't be a law that have to be, but they have it now because there are a lot of people who like to go with children underage because they're perverts. Matter of fact, it was written by a guest, one of the guests noted in his book, being the secret pimp for the White House during the 80s and the 90s, during the Reagan and Bush era, senior era and junior. They said that there were a lot of people, there were quite a few people on both sides of the Senate or in the Congress that wanted to have sex with underage children, and even some mayors in town are messing with underage children. And, and not only that, this is really disturbing, because you mess around with an adult. That's what you're supposed to mess around with, not with an underage kid. But you see, there's a lot of people, even the presidents, have been messing around. They had a boy ring that was in there. I said the president, I can't remember which one it was, but they said it on the show the other night that it was Bush's, that had a boy ring in there, underage boys. They were young, they were like teenagers, and they were in there, and they had, they would have unscheduled late night tours of the White House for girls and boys that are underage come in there, and then some people would be messing with them in inappropriate ways. So the laws are here, but it's like these people that are in the Senate or in the White House or presidents, can do whatever they want because they think they're above the law, when really the law is written for them just like it's written for us. And it just seems like it's going on. Even some cops are messing around with children and underage kids. A lot of cops aren't, but some are, because you have those kinds of people, in everywhere you go, because there are bad people. And that's something you have to understand, because it's not really being watched. It's like nobody has checks and balances anymore. It's like all that stuff's just gone to the wayside. It's gone to hell. And just everybody's just doing like it's a buffet. You can just do whatever you want. Mess with children, mess with adults, mess with somebody else's wife, steal things. It's like a mobster kind of mentality. Matter of fact, speaking about mobsters, the banks now, where in the 90s they passed a law where banks could not charge you unreasonable rates. Well, guess what? It has come back in this country. And if they want to charge you extraordinary rates because you owe them money, like say if you bounce a check in the bank, if you don't pay it within a reasonable time, they could come after you with really ridiculous fees. I mean, we're talking about 25, 30%. I'm not kidding. They're already starting to do this in this country. They're doing it some in this country, but they've already started doing it in other countries. This is something like what the mafia would do, but now they're starting to do it here in America. It's going to come here too, because if they're already doing this in other countries, they're going to do it here. Trust me, because what we see, it's just like the forced inoculations or vaccinations or shots, or needles, where they make you get shots even if you have religious reasons or you don't want to have them. They make you get them. And what they're going to do is stop your child credit. They're already doing that in Australia, where they get a $1,500 credit. That's what we get here in the United States. Well, that's what they give out there in Australia. And if you don't take the shots, they just deny you of that credit, because they want your children to be immunized. They want them to have the shots, when they're supposed to get them. So you can put that poison in there. And yet, the reason why when people go get shots and their kids are healthy and they come back and they're autistic or they have diseases or they have diseases, they have seizures, they don't talk, after they come back a few days later or a week later. And because in this country they have what is called a shot court. So if you go to try to sue the medical or these big pharma companies who make these vaccines, they actually block it here. And the reason why the people in the UK did it is because they don't have that law in place. They don't have a court in place to sue for damages in the UK. But over here in the United States, you can kiss that goodbye, because they do have a law here, so you can't do that. See how free we are? Doesn't that sound nice? That sounds really nice, doesn't it? But speaking about children and all, And speaking about things that are going on, Jeff Bacalar, or known as Geronimo Pastor G, an update. I don't believe he did these things to these two girls that were twins in Texas, but he's got a hearing coming up here on sometime in May, for that. And then in June, he's talking to his lawyers to try to get these charges dropped because they're allegations and they're not true, and he's trying to see if he can get those dropped. And that'll happen sometime in June. But right now, he's got a hearing down in Texas to go to coming up. I think it's on the 16th of May, which will be coming up here soon. It has to do with this case, and that's will be the last of all the hearings. And if there's no other new information or no other things to prove it, then that's gonna be the end of it. So Pastor G is gonna go and see to get those dropped in June, which I hope he can, because I truly believe he didn't do this stuff. But even though a lot of people are saying and treating him like he's a sex offender when he didn't do anything, I looked at the information. I just examined all the evidence, and he's not guilty. I mean, he doesn't act like a child molester. He doesn't act like a person that would like people would normally act if they have those tendencies. I mean, my mom knows him, and my stepdad knows him, and other people I've talked to that have gone to Iraq when he was there as an active minister said he's a real nice guy, and they would trust him with their kids even after all this has happened because he's not that way. What has happened here is that a lot of lies have been said about him that aren't true. And this family, there was a feud in the church with his brother, and maybe other people that were involved in his family. I don't know all the details, but they said that they were going to get back at him, and that's what they did because they have girls, and they think they might have talked to these other people that aren't a part of his family because they all want to get a piece of his money, and cost him a lot of money because they want to destroy him because they just don't like him because they're angry at him about something, because some people do that because they're just jealous. And that's what's happened here. So they made up all the stories about him that wasn't true. And Pastor G has literally had to go through hell on earth and almost cost him his very ministry pretty much. All because of something that was said that wasn't even true. That's the kind of world we live in today, where people just do this and bash people, and it's not even true most of the time. And a lot of it's because people lie. And I don't know if Pastor G is going to press charges on these two girls who fabricated these stories, or this evidence, because that's what it's looking like, because there's no evidence or nothing to back it up to say that he really did this to these girls back in the early 2000s in Texas, But the thing is, it's just all a bunch of craziness. But see, there's so much vile and evil people in the world that people do these things. And that, God, justice always comes. And whether he presses charges or not, he probably won't because he's a preacher and he's a man of God. He'll probably just let it go. But the thing is, if he does press charges, I think he should, because it teaches them a lesson that they can't go around lying on people. There's so many people out here that are doing that today that they'll just make it up if they don't know all the facts. They just think they're so right in what they're doing, and they think it's their mission to ruin you because they're jealous or envious or whatever. It's just really ridiculous, but that's how some people are. I mean, they're mentally unstable, they're mentally imbalanced, and they just want attention so bad that they just want to, they just kind of salivate over the power and overdoing this, and making up horrific tales that are horrible, and they lie. And then it destroys somebody's life in the ministry because of a result. But I think with Pastor G, I think when it's all said and done, he's going to be bigger and better in the long run once all this stuff is dealt with and over with. People are going to come back to him, and he's going to have a better church than what he had before. It's just that God may be teaching him some other lesson out of all this. And I don't know what that is, but only Pastor G would know what that is. But anyway, that's just some of the news that's going on in this country. It's really bad. Sovereignty, attack on your sovereignty and on your rights and what you say on Facebook or any other social media platform. Watch out what you're saying, because they are watching and they are looking. They are taking everything you say, and they are in everything that you have. And when I say they, I mean the government. So, be careful what you say, because even though you might say something that isn't wrong, they can construe it and change it around and make it bad by, altering it electronically and making it look like it came from your computer when they did it, because they got in your computer and did it remotely, because they can still do that even though they're not on your network, because they can still get in your network through microwaves. They can get in there through EM signals. They can get in there because the computers have EM signals through them, just like your body. All electronics give off electronic signatures just like a human body does. And they found ways on how to break into people's minds through that in some ways to see what you're thinking. There's all kinds of experiments they've been doing in the United States as well as abroad to be able to see what you're thinking. And so this is a pretty bad situation. So that's something to think about. And, if they can tap into your electronic signals that your body gives off, EM signals, and they can do that through electronics and the computers, and they don't have to be connected to the internet or on your router to do this. And they can do this through, flying overhead in a blimp or in a drone. Imagine what they could do if they can get into your mind. And they can see what you're actually thinking, because they say that in some ways they've been able to crack it somewhat, but there's a lot of it they haven't cracked, but some of it they have. And that's pretty dangerous stuff. Because, what you have in your mind is secret. It's private. It's stuff you did, both good and bad. Doesn't mean you're a criminal, but then again, it could mean you're a criminal. Maybe you did some stuff when you were a minor that was against the law, but you're a different person now and you're living right. Or maybe you did some stuff and people forgiving you for it and didn't press charges for it. The government can go in there and get stuff out of your mind, and then they'll try to throw you in jail and conjure up charges when yet you've already paid the price because you've already been forgiven by the people, whatever that is, and it's been let go, but the government could come after you for it anyhow because they can see what's in your head or see what you wrote on your computer or on your phone. So it's really, injustice here. It's if they get this trade agreement, that's part of that trade agreement we're talking about, the PPT G, the Republic Pacific Trade Agreement, with all these corporations as being the center of the power, like they almost have a lot of rights, the same rights and authorities like the president, because they tell the president what to do some now in the White House in this country just as well as in the other countries that have signed on to the same agreement. It's not about progress. It's not about saving money. It's about taking away your freedom and your sovereignty and regulating the web and destroying the free platform of the internet and exchange of information and prosperity in this country on all levels, not just the internet, but all levels, even in your real life and what you do, and introducing total tyranny by trading your freedoms in for security, which ruins this country because there won't be no liberty, because once you do that, it'll be gone, and this country will just be it'll be like a third world country. And that's what we don't want. And I'm not trying to scare you, but that's what it says in that bill, because I've looked at a lot of it. I studied it. I've seen it on WikiLeaks. And a lot of people, you can look at it too. You go there and look at it before they pull it down. But the thing is, Congress and all, they've been told to sign it into law. And, they did. But they weren't told not to look at it until after. They couldn't look at any of the details of what was in that bill until after they signed it, which is totally crooked and criminal in this country. So, just like the Obamacare was a big scam too. And I think you all know this if you pay attention and you're up on things. So I just challenge you all to get out of your reality TV shows and stop watching football on Sunday evening and get off your butt, put those Cheetos down in your soft drinks and get out there and start doing something to help turn this country around, to help restore freedom, to write to your congressman, to write to, because the flag means a lot more than red, white, and blue. It means honor. It means integrity. It means character. It means freedom. And it means ultimately liberty. That's what the flag really represents. And if you really are an American, that's what it should represent to you. Because that's why this country is different from all the others. Because we believe in freedom. And we believe in prosperity. And we believe in liberty. This is no old idea of the old way of government. Even though they try to brainwash you with all this TV propaganda telling you, and false deceptions and confusion of terms, and tell you that all this stuff is the old way and that we're coming out with something better. No. What they come out that's coming out is not going to be better. It's going to be better for all of them in the government, but it's going to be hellish for us because they take away all your freedoms. And you'll be totally like you're in jail, and you'll constantly be monitored through everything. Right now you are somewhat. But when they get done, you'll wish it'll be just like they can see your naked body while you're sleeping, because they're going to be scanning you, the houses, they're going to be flying overhead, all hours with blimps and drones that fly above, and they can just take pictures every 24 hours a day and see you naked, see you making love, see you doing all that stuff, all the intimate stuff you do in the bedroom is supposed to be private between you and your wife, they're going to be able to see it. They're going to see your kids in the bathtub. They're going to see you in the bathtub, in the shower. They're going to be able to see everything you're doing every time you do. They're going to track you everywhere you are. That's what they want to do. And then they're going to charge you carbon taxes on top of that. That's also part of that PPG. That's part of the Partner Pacific Trade Agreement. That's in there too, carbon taxes. Yep, I said it. The gas just went up 4 cents last week. So gas is going up, and it's going to probably go up again. So they are starting to raise the prices, and taxes have gone up in most states on the fuel, like we told you a couple weeks ago. Anyway, this is in the news. Subscribe. Please send some money. Please send some money. Donate. This is freedom independent media. Donate. Help support a dream. Help support a dream. Keep the lights on. Send your money now. Get to make it strong. Independent media. Help support a dream. Yeah. Help support a dream. Subscribe down below and donate. It's important. It's important. Very important. We're a for-profit organization, New Hunter Church of Christ, DeSilvis Media, and also Freedom Network. We're all right here, all for you, because we care about you and love you. Please help us out by making a donation of whatever you can send. At our address, 7110 New Hunter Road, apartment 423, Mechanicsville, Virginia, 23111. Also, you can also make a donation to our Logos payment. Just call the 1-800 number there. Go to logos.com, logos.com, and go there and look at the upper top right-hand corner. Call that number. Get the sales on. Give them my name, Michael DeSilvis. That's Mikel. D as in David, E as in elk, S as in silver, I as in igloo, L as in labor, V as in Victor, and then I as in is, and S as in Samson. And, of course, you can give them that. And my email address is Gmail accounts. All lower cases. It's Mikel, like my name. No spaces, no underscores or anything. And it's B as in boy, B as in T as in Tom, M as in Marianne, as in Nancy, 71@gmail.com. And please just give them that. And then just say, I'd like to add a credit to to Michael DeSilvis' account on Faith Life, on Logos, on his account, or buy some things off his wish list. Or I would like to pay a portion or pay this month's bill on Logos, because we had 27 more payments of $287. So if you all could help me out, I really would appreciate it, because electric's going up and all, and we need help with that too. And a lot of things are going up, so we'll need more money coming in here. Or you can help out in other ways by, taking advantage of our products and our services that we offer. The IT work, tax preparation, information, looking up, finding people. Buying things for you online to get a better deal than getting it on these department stores where you go to. You can get a better deal from me because I deal with the factories directly, and I have a algorithm that actually pulls in, a program that actually pulls in all the stores, and sometimes it's even cheaper than Amazon. And of course it is. There's some places that are. I'm not saying that to be mean, because a lot of times you can get stuff better at Amazon, but sometimes there are lower prices out there, and they are. You just have to look. So anyway, that's what I do. 25